Game Week 5 is just around the corner, and I know you're already weighing up your transfer moves. Fear not, we've got all of the stats ready to go with this week's Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid. If you're new to Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid, this is how it works. The video is split into two parts, the first of which we're going to have a look at those players you probably already have in your team, and maybe you should keep some of them, and maybe you should sell some of the others. Then we'll look at some of the players you might not have, and which players you should buy, and which players you should avoid. Players are tier listed with the best players at the top and the worst ones at the bottom. So let's kick things off by having a look at those forwards and which ones you should be looking to keep. And Gyökeres is definitely at the top of this list. He is obviously a player who scored in Game Week 4, and even though the fixtures might not look great on paper in 5 and 6, the fixtures for Arsenal from Game Week 7 are just so good. He is a player you're going to want to have in your team long term. 3 goals now, not too bad. Penalty taker as well. Really no need to sell at this point. We've also got Mateta and Wood in here as well, and even though they both disappointed last game week, these are two players who have very good fixtures moving forward. Mateta against a West Ham team who continues to concede chance after chance, goal after goal. And we also have Wood here. I know there was some concerns with his 59th minute substitution in Game Week 4, but it doesn't seem like a player you would want to sell, considering the next 2 fixtures, Burnley and Sunderland in 5 and 6, are so very, very good. These are such tasty fixtures. Whether Wood is a buy or not is another question, and we will come to that. But if you already have Wood, no reason to sell. So 3 penalty takers, 2 of which have pretty good fixtures. No need to sell any of these guys. They are going to be keeps. Ekitike is going to be our first monitor. Now, I do think he has got a very, very high chance of starting in Game Week 5. Isak not even making the bench in Game Week 4, so Ekitike's minutes still should be secure for just a little while longer. We're expecting another Ekitike start in Game Week 5 against Everton at home. Could be an interesting game with 2 rival teams going head to head. As for Alexander Isak, if you do already have him in your team, well, I guess you're probably not going to sell him, right? I mean, maybe you could, but that's why he's in the monitor section. I think if you already bought Isak in, you thought he was going to start, you're probably going to be waiting a little bit longer, but maybe you can just hold him on your bench for now whilst we wait for his first game in the Premier League for Liverpool. Watkins has got to be a monitor despite some really nice fixtures coming up. It's just a sad case that Aston Villa are not scoring goals right now, and I mean that quite literally. 0 goals in 4 games now. No other team in the top 8 tiers of English football have such a poor goal-scoring record as Aston Villa do. It really is very, very surprising indeed. But obviously, you have that good fixture against Sunderland. You've got that good fixture in Game Week 7 against Burnley as well. By the way, Sunderland, even though they did keep a clean sheet last game week against Crystal Palace, they did concede a decent amount of chances in there. So there is going to be chances for Aston Villa, but I mean, I completely understand the form is not there. You know, there is maybe some reason to keep Watkins, but there is no strong reason to keep Watkins at this point anymore. And that's why he's in a monitor. He's not quite a sell, just like Bowen, not quite a sell here for Jarrod Bowen. We probably know by this point that Bowen is not great value for money, not getting a huge amount of decent chances to score, hasn't had a single big chance yet in the Premier League. And the fixtures against Crystal Palace, Arsenal in the next 3, not particularly ideal. Everton away is maybe a little bit better, but again, not perfect there. And as for those sells, I think it's just going to be those rotation risk players that are going to be definite sells in the forward position. So we got Richarlison, for example. He has more competition for his place than ever at striker. Not just Solanke, not just Kolo Muani, but now also Tell playing as the striker in Game Week 4. So yeah, lots of worries about rotation in the forward position for Spurs, and therefore Richarlison, I think he's going to be a player who might be worth just selling so you don't have to deal with that headache. Šeško, pretty disappointing game in Game Week 4 against Man City. He's really struggled to acclimatise to the Premier League so far. The next game is against Chelsea. I don't think it is time for patience with Benjamin Šeško. It might be time to just let him go and try and find a better forward for the upcoming games. And of course, Mark Gue, now that he is wasting away at Chelsea when he could have been such a beautiful pick at Sunderland, well, unfortunately, he is going to have to be a sell as well. And hopefully you can replace him with one of the many great forward options that we do have right now that we will cover later on in the video. Midfielders to keep, I think maybe some knee-jerking going on with some of the midfielders that maybe people have bought in recently. Kudus, of course, maybe blanking again was not what you wanted to see from him. However, it has to be said that he looked much better from a goal scoring perspective in game week 4 against West Ham. He was actually getting chances to score, which is not really something we've seen up until this point in the Premier League for Kudus. So Kudus has now kind of convinced us. He has now told us that he is a player who is going to be getting attacking opportunities for goals as well as assists, and that's going to be really nice going into some of these nicer fixtures. Brighton, Wolves, Leeds, Aston Villa. These are all really nice fixtures for an attacker, so I'd be more than willing to have a player like Kudus in my squad right now. Grealish, difficult fixture against Liverpool, but hopefully if you bought him last week, you bought him for more than just one game week. West Ham in game week 6 is nice, and even Liverpool, I don't think they've looked amazing so far this season, despite winning all of their games. Certainly they are a team that can be got at, can be scored against, and this is a huge game for Everton. This is their cup final, so Grealish is definitely gonna want to really lay down a marker in this game against Liverpool and really prove himself in this game. So I think this is going to be a really good opportunity for potential points, more so at least than it looks like on paper. So I think this is better than it looks on paper. Hope that makes sense. Reinders. Actually, I thought in game week 4, that's the best he has looked as an FPL asset since game week 1. Plenty of chances to score, a couple of really big chances to score in that game. It was kind of unfortunate not to score against Manchester United in game week 4. But that's certainly some really nice, promising things for Reinders owners to see. Now, Arsenal away, you're probably not going to get too much out of that. But going into game week 6, 7, 8, as long as Reinders continues to play for Man City, I think he can be a really useful FPL asset, particularly at his price tag. So really no need to sell any of those guys, but we can move on to the monitors. And I think Gakpo at this point has to drop into the monitor kind of category. I know some people are thinking about selling him. I don't think he is a must sell or anything like that. I think he's probably, again, good for game time in the short term, but he is, like Ekitike, someone we may have to monitor going forward. We will see if Liverpool begin to switch things around, because they do have plenty of options in these attacking positions at the moment. And Gakpo, I don't think, is 100% nailed on in this team moving forward. We'll have to see how Liverpool begin to line up when they have all of their players available, and that is becoming more and more of the case as each week goes by. Bruno Fernandes, a monitor as well. I think he's still a player well worth having. He is putting up some very good numbers, good underlying stats on penalties, on some set pieces, taking shots, creating and getting defensive contribution points as well. After Chelsea, pretty good fixtures against Brentford and Sunderland. However, I think we all acknowledge that maybe 9 million is quite a lot of money for Bruno Fernandes. So if you are looking to sell a cash cow player like Bruno, I think that is okay. But if you have other issues in your squad, I don't think Bruno is going to be a priority sell at all. So one to monitor, but for now, I think he is probably going to be kept by most people unless you do need to free up a little bit of cash. We've got Salah in the monitor category as well. Another stinky performance from him in game week 4. Absolutely saved by that last minute penalty again. He just keeps doing it. He just has that knack of getting FPL points no matter what, which is why people pick Salah in their FPL teams. But there's no doubt about it. Maybe he has been a little bit lucky so far this season. Everton up next. I don't think he is a must sell ahead of this fixture, but I think he is worth monitoring. And going into game week 6, I would not be surprised to see a lot of people sell Salah and maybe use the Salah money to upgrade a forward to Haaland. That's probably more likely to happen in game week 6, but as for now, I think Salah we have to keep a close eye on him, because for 14.5 million, the performances just are not there. And Rodgers, just like Watkins, even though it's an amazing run of fixtures now for the next couple of games for Rodgers, well, particularly game week 5 and 7, at the end of the day, it is a tough situation with Aston Villa just not creating, not shooting, not scoring. It is not good enough. And therefore, no matter how good the fixture is, we have to at least consider selling those Aston Villa players. So they're not absolute sells. I don't think they are must sells. Everyone has to sell them. But he is tier listed pretty low here, very close to the sell category at this point. And I would not be surprised to drop him into the sell category in game week 6 if things continue to go so poorly. But I mean, surely it can't last forever. Hey, maybe it can. In the sell category, I'm going to put Elanga in here because he just seems so rotation risk at the moment. Another game that he was on the bench in game week 4, and I think that's just not what you want to see, particularly when the next two games, Bournemouth away, Arsenal at home, these are two pretty tough fixtures, to be honest. And I don't think we can just wait around and hope that Elanga will start games. And even if he does, are the fixtures good enough? Remember, Elanga is 7 million, so he's not exactly a cheap player either. And I think there's better value for money from some of the other picks that are maybe, you know, more secure for minutes, putting up some slightly better numbers as well, because so far Elanga has not really been everything that we hoped for. Florian Wirtz, similar situation, very expensive, not really justifying his price tag with his output right now. Just 0.52 XG so far this season, 0.7 XA. So don't get me wrong, he has maybe been unlucky not to get something from the games so far this season, but very, very expensive player, as we know, guys. Liverpool maybe not 100% clicking yet. Maybe a few more pieces of the puzzle needed to be added into this Liverpool team before they are at their best, but they are winning games. So, but we don't care who's winning games. We care who's getting FPL points, and Florian Wirtz has failed to do that at every moment so far this season. He has got just as few points as Morgan Rogers, and if you think Rogers is bad, then you kind of maybe have to say a similar thing about Florian Wirtz, considering he is that much more expensive as well. And Brennan Johnson, we kind of probably saw this one coming. To be fair, we mentioned this before, that Brennan Johnson was going to become a rotation risk player very, very soon, in the very near future. That future has arrived, unfortunately, with all of Spurs' attacking options right now. Johnson did look like he might be the sacrificial lamb, I suppose, in that in trying to find a way to fit in all of these new attackers for Spurs. So Johnson may get occasional minutes, he may get sub appearances, and he may even score from some of those sub appearances too. However, given that he is no longer a main starter for Spurs, then I think there is good reason to remove him from your FPL teams right now. On to defenders. We got to keep Pedro Porro right. Really no reason to sell Spurs defenders. And they have been overperforming their defensive numbers massively so far this season, but the fixtures are good. The fixtures continue to be good, and if they can keeping clean sheets in some of these nice fixtures, I mean, hey, they play Aston Villa at home in game week 8, so you got one guaranteed clean sheet right there. There's not really a strong reason to sell Pedro Porro unless you're on a wild card and you feel like maybe someone like Romero or Van der Ven are better value for money in the Spurs defense, but a very low priority sell and a player I'd be looking to keep as long as you're not using chips. Of course, these videos are mostly about transfers anyway, to be fair. Milenkovic, I would be keeping Burnley and Sunderland in the next two. So two really nice fixtures. I think by the looks of things, Forest may start off maybe quite defensively under Ange Postecoglou as he slowly maybe beds in his style over a number of weeks. Remember, he has pretty much just arrived at the club, so we're going to see a lot of the same, I think. And Milenkovic, of course, going by last season, we know he does have a bit of attacking threat as well, so maybe we may see a bit of that against Burnley and Sunderland, but it's going to be clean sheets we're looking for primarily with your Nottingham Forest defenders. Really no need to sell them. Kukurea didn't start in game week 4, which was a little disappointing for owners, but I wouldn't use that as a reason to sell him. I think he'll be back in the Chelsea starting 11 before too long. Game week 5, straight back in there against Manchester United. He is probably long-term the most nailed Chelsea defender right now, so really no need to sell him. Things will be back to normal in game week 5. Don't worry about that. Murillo has to go in the monitor section, I think, just because of the knock that he has. The early prognosis is pretty good. So, yeah, it seems like it is just a minor knock for him, and he is probably going to be available by the end of the week, but we don't know it for sure, so we do have to monitor him for now. Hopefully, fingers crossed, he is available and you can take advantage of the nice fixtures he has. And interestingly, with Murillo, he did get defensive contribution points despite only playing a small part of that game against Arsenal in game week 4. Saliba, he is back in training. That's the most recent information we know, so we'll monitor him throughout this week. But if you do have him in your team, despite the bad fixtures in the next two, you might have been thinking about benching Saliba against Man City anyway. And if that's the case, then you really only need to worry about him being back for game week 6 and of course game week 7, where the fixtures do look so good. So I would definitely be looking to keep Saliba if you are looking for someone a little bit longer term, but we do have to monitor his injury situation and make sure nothing changes there. Juve, one to monitor for West Ham. Crystal Palace up next, and without Sarr and Eza, it does seem that maybe Palace are struggling a little bit on the goal output, with Mateta really the only only, true top goal scorer left in their team whilst we wait for Sarr to return from his injury. He's unlikely to be back for game week 5, more likely game week 6 or 7 before we see Ismaila Sarr back for Crystal Palace. So it is an opportunity for Juve and West Ham. And what's interesting is Juve's defensive contribution numbers over the last 2 games have actually improved quite a lot as well. So I don't think he is a must-sell player. I think he is playable against Crystal Palace despite West Ham showing some defensive weaknesses. I actually think West Ham maybe have been a little unlucky with the quantity of goals they've conceded. I don't think they're a top defense. I think they are a pretty weak defense in the Premier League, but maybe not as bad as, things would seem so far. Maybe they need to, I don't know, sort out the goalkeeper situation there. Kxxssl, difficult performance in game week 4, maybe one to have some concerns about. I just don't know if he's going to be value for money at 6 million going forward, considering there are so many seemingly better defenders, maybe at even cheaper prices. So one to monitor there if you are thinking about a downgrade. And Sel Dorgu, Man United defensively are not quite there. Yeah, Chelsea next. It's not looking great. De Kuiper, another player with a knock. We'll have to keep an eye on him. But the fixtures are pretty tough for Brighton in the next 4, maybe outside of game week 7 where they face Wolves. So yeah, Brighton not really convincing anyone defensively. So De Kuiper with his little knock, maybe a blessing in disguise and a sign to remove him. And Wan-Bissaka not in the starting 11 for West Ham in each of the last 2 game weeks. Is his time as a regular West Ham starter over? Would be a real big shame because I thought he was very good last season, but he's clearly out of favour right now, and therefore I think he is probably a player to consider selling just so you don't have to deal with that headache of the rotation anymore. And by the way, guys, if you do enjoy this video, make sure you do drop a like. Massively helps out the channel. Do subscribe as well if you want to follow along with some transfer tips every single game week. Forwards to buy, no change with Joao Pedro. He will continue to be in this buy category every single week as long as he keeps getting these attacking returns. 2 goals and 3 assists is crazy. I don't know how sustainable it is, but he's playing Manchester United next, Brighton after that. These are nice fixtures, nice pair of fixtures for him. So yeah, definitely a player I'd be looking at going for this week if you don't have him already and you are looking for, a forward to bring into your team. Gyökeres, I think, is also a player to consider buying. I know it's not the perfect jumping on point for this game against Man City, but if you are looking for something a little longer term, you are desperate to replace one of your forwards, Gyökeres for the long term is very, very nice indeed. And I don't think Man City are, impossible to score against. It's not a perfect fixture, but, Man City will concede goals. They have conceded goals this season, and Gyökeres is more than capable of getting another goal against Man City. Plus, we know he has done it before against Man City as well in a Sporting Lisbon shirt last season. Haaland, of course, is got to be a buy at this point. He has just been, it's pretty obvious that he is the best FPL asset in the entire game right now. There's really no doubts in my mind that he is a phenomenal FPL asset. He's been putting up the best data all season. You can see on screen, guys, 19 shots, 18 in the box, 9 big chances in 4 games. That is absolutely nuts. He's basically taking 5 shots per game, which is crazy, crazy stuff. This whole Man City team seems geared entirely around him. However, I am putting him 3rd in the buy section because Arsenal away is the most difficult fixture he will face all season. So, is it the best jumping on point for Haaland? Well, technically no, because the fixture is so bad. But the question really is he so good right now? Is he in such good form? Is this team so set up to benefit Haaland that it actually doesn't matter who the opponent is? I'll leave that for you to decide, guys. But certainly by game week 6, Haaland is going to be going to the very top of this buy, sell, keep, avoid, buy list. Every single week, I'm going to put Haaland on top. I'm telling you it right now. Mateta wants a monitor. Don't think he's an insta-buy because Crystal Palace are lacking that little bit of creativity right now in their team. Although it has to be said, Mateta did have opportunities. He could have scored in that last game against Sunderland. Maybe a little unfortunate there. But West Ham, it's an interesting fixture. If you have Mateta already, there's no way you're going to sell him. But if you're looking for someone to buy, I don't think Mateta is essential, particularly with Liverpool in game week 6. Maybe a slightly tougher fixture there. there for Crystal Palace. We've got Evanilson here as a potential monitor here as well. Don't think Newcastle is the best jumping on point for Evanilson. Newcastle actually so far this season have been the strongest defence. They are conceding the fewest chances of any team in the Premier League so far. Maybe part of that is to do with the good fixtures that Newcastle have had so far, certainly in game week 3 and 4. But yeah, I don't think Evanilson is an insta-buy just because of that fixture. Maybe game week 6 is a better jumping on point for him. Voltemada, not massively keen on these fixtures, but a good start for him, a goal in his opening appearance for Newcastle, which is pretty nice, with 3 shots, all 3 in the box, and 0.27 XG on his debut. But maybe it's, again, maybe it's not quite the time to jump on him. I'd like to see exactly how long Wissa is going to be unavailable for as well. Chris Wood is also in the monitor section because I think if you have him, you've got to keep him. But with new management, with a 59th minute substitution, with maybe Wood technically not really being the ideal Ange Postecoglou type striker, he doesn't really have that pressing ability, then maybe there are some worries about Wood and, you know, where he is in the long-term plans for Nottingham Forest, particularly with European football coming up next. So yeah, some concern about Wood, I think, in my opinion. So if you have him, keep him. But if you don't have him, I would be very, very careful before buying him because it seems to have the potential to go wrong. Ekitike is now going to be an avoid. His time is limited. If you have him already, of course, you really strong reason to keep him. But if you don't have him already, I think you have waited too long. I think you've left it too late before going for Ekitike. So he is going to go in the avoid section here. Richarlison also an avoid given the rotation risk. And Isak still not ready to even make the bench for Liverpool. So there's no way he's going to be a buy or really anywhere close to a buy. For that much money, we need him to at least get some minutes off the bench before we can have any confidence in him starting a game for Liverpool FC. Midfielders to buy, Semenyo, yeah, again, not the perfect jumping on point in game week 5, but a home game against a Newcastle team that maybe have had some easier fixtures. Maybe gives us some confidence in Semenyo, but what really gives you the confidence in Semenyo is that not only do we now know he is a penalty taker, apparently, that was a surprise to me, maybe as much as maybe Semenyo owners were maybe even surprised by that one. You know, it was possible, but yeah, he's just truly the talisman of his team now, and everything is all about Semenyo, and you know, the underlying numbers are phenomenal for him. 12 shots, 6 big chances, absolutely insane. 2 assists so far from maybe not the best expected assist numbers, but he's putting up the shooting data that we like to see, and therefore I expect his good run to continue, particularly from game week 6 onwards. Xavi, like the look of him. I was hoping that he was going to start in game week 4 so we could have a good look at him, and I think so far, you know, not too bad. I think, you know, limited minutes, of course, didn't play the full game, but I think there was some promising signs there from Xavi. 1 shot, 1 key pass, maybe not anything crazy, but if you're looking to target fixtures, you want to pick a really nice Spurs attacker. Forwards are difficult to pick from right now. We're looking at Xavi or Kudus, really. I would put both of those players in the buy section if you're looking for maybe a midfielder that is slightly cheaper than Semenyo, or if you already have Semenyo, maybe. And I'll put Palmer in the buy section as well, returning to his Chelsea team off the bench with a goal in game week 4 against Brentford. What a nice moment for him. And the fixtures are really nice in the next 2 and beyond. So I think certainly from game week 9, I think Palmer is going to be pretty much essential. So if you do want to go a little bit early on him, I think that's totally fine to do as well, because the fixtures from game week 9 for Chelsea are just so good. Maybe even game week 8 now that Forest are under new management. Yeah, he's going to be pretty much a must-have player, I think, at that point, and a real captain option for a lot of game weeks as well. So can go early on him, maybe. Grealish one to monitor, maybe not the perfect time to buy him, but still a really, really useful FPL asset to have. I still like Lucas Paqueta. I think he still offers a lot of things that we like, taking shots, creating on penalties, on corners, and getting defensive contributions. Maybe not so much in game week 4, actually, but certainly prior to that, getting plenty of defensive contributions here. Fixtures are not perfect, but I just think he's very good value for money and offers you a few different avenues to points. So if you're looking for someone cheap, I think he's probably the kind of player I'd be looking at going for. Enzo with Palmer back is no longer going to be on penalties and maybe has overperformed a little bit so far this season. But yeah, it's good fixtures for Enzo. Maybe one to consider if you are looking to go cheaper. But I would be saving a Chelsea slot for Palmer. So Make sure you don't triple up. Make sure Enzo is not the third Chelsea player you have if you don't have Palmer in your team, because, yeah, that could cause some problems later down the line. And Eza, as much as I love him, I think maybe not the best jumping on point for him. Showed some real nice creativity in Game Week 4 against Nottingham Forest. But, yeah, I think I'm waiting until Game Week 7 before going for Eza. Remember, he is 7.5 million, so it's a very big investment if you are going for him. He's no cheap guy, so maybe waiting for the right moment is maybe the play there. And avoid Gakpo. Yeah, it's again, we're coming to the time where he may become rotation risk. Ekatike, a similar situation as him, so some concerns there. If you don't already have Gakpo, you're probably not going to buy him. You're probably a little bit too late to buy Gakpo. Caicedo is also going to be on the avoid section again, because those Chelsea places are quite precious. I know Caicedo has scored twice already this season, but if history is anything to go by, you know, he's a defensive midfielder. That is unlikely to continue. He has been fantastic for defensive contributions, though, and I think Caicedo, maybe later on in the season where we're less inclined to, you know, go for triple Chelsea in our teams, then maybe at that point Caicedo could be a nice, useful player. But it's just that taking up a Chelsea spot. You know, yes, he has scored. He's taken 4 shots so far this season, but, you know, he's unlikely to score more than 1 or 2 goals for the rest of the season. So, yeah, they've come in a flurry, but we're not expecting them going forward. Speaking of defensive midfielders, Zubimendi, yeah, just because he scored 2 goals in Game Week 4 doesn't mean he's going to score them every week. Last season in Spain, he only scored 2 goals all season. And looking through his career stats, he scores maybe 1 goal every 18 games, roughly. So, yeah, definitely not a regular scorer. They came like London buses. They came all at once. But, yeah, would not be surprised to see Zubimendi score 0 goals for the rest of the season. I say that as an Arsenal fan. I hope he does score more goals. That would be great. But it's not something that I think we can expect. Again, really, really big overperformance on his underlying numbers, and not really something we see as sustainable here. Defenders to buy. Lacroix remains in this top area for me. Really like the look of him with all of the defensive contributions that he is making. And he's not the only one. I think these defensive contribution defenders are really where I would be looking to invest right now. So same with Senesi, who has made 54 so far this season, and Virgil, who has made 50 so far this season. So we're really looking at these top defensive contribution monsters. They've flipped this game of FPL on its head. These guys, they really, really have. So for that reason, they are all going to go in these top buy spots for me. Maybe the occasional attacking return we might see. Lacroix 0.5 XG generated already, not too bad for 5 million, and we know Crystal Palace are a pretty strong defense. But yeah, Lacroix, Senesi, Virgil, depending on your budget, these are the guys I'd be going for, the DEFCON monsters of the Premier League. In Monitor, Van de Ven, I still think he's okay. Fixtures are pretty good. 4.6 is a cheap price tag. Not expecting a goal from him every game week. Typically not much of a goal scorer, but, you know, never know when it's going to happen. Not great for defensive contributions, but that didn't matter in Game Week 4, did it? Gabriel and Timber are going to go in the Monitor section as well. Not the best time to buy, but we know Arsenal are generally fairly fixture-proof when it comes to keeping clean sheets. So I think they do still have a very good chance of clean sheets, even against Man City and Newcastle. But of course, it is going to be more likely from Game Week 7 onwards, where I would really like to have some Arsenal players in my team from that kind of time onwards. But yeah, Gabriel looks really strong for minutes. Timber is mostly good for minutes, but not guaranteed. And we've got Romero in Monitor as well. Not sure he offers too much more than Van de Ven for the extra money. You could maybe argue that Romero has better goal threat, but that's not really been proven so far this season, has it? So Romero a little bit lower on the Monitor. Remember, we mentioned earlier, guys, that Spurs have been overperforming, both in attack, actually, and in defense. So I don't think it is a guarantee that clean sheets continue, but the fixtures are nice. Do we want to spend 5 million on overperforming numbers? Maybe not as much as we would be, you know, happy to just go nice cheap 4.6 million Van de Ven. And avoid Calafiori. Yeah, in combination with these difficult fixtures, we also see Lewis Skelly coming on from the bench, getting some points. We have Hincapié as well, who can play at left back for Arsenal. So there is some concern in the left-back position for Arsenal right now. Calafiori so far has been playing very well, though. So I think he is going to get rotated at one point, and it's probably in the game that you don't want him to be rotated in. So good chance he plays Man City, Newcastle, and then it'll be West Ham in game week 7 where he gets rested, rotated for one of the other Arsenal left backs. So yeah, it just seems like it is destined to happen for him. So I do prefer the other Arsenal defenders if you're looking for secure minutes. Chalobah, I'm going to put in the avoid section. Some concern about minutes. We've seen Hato get some minutes now, Fofana as well. Is there going to be some rotation for Chelsea's defense with Champions League coming up? Maybe. We've got Man United away and Liverpool at home in the next 3. Even Brighton. Like, these 3 fixtures, they're not too bad for an attacker. I like these fixtures if you're an attacker, but if you're a defender, I would maybe have a few more concerns. So I don't think I'd be jumping in on Chelsea defenders right now necessarily, particularly with Champions League rotation potentially about to come. And Mark Yu, I'm going to be really harsh on him again. Nothing personal. It's just that Lacroix for 5 million. I would rather have Munoz for 5.5, 5.6 million. I'd rather have Richards for 4.5. I would rather have than Gay, because yeah, defensive contributions not really there for Gay. He has scored, but you know, he's not a regular goal scorer or anything like that. So yeah, it's difficult to predict that that's going to continue really with him. So yeah, avoid. And goalkeepers, if you have sells, you've got to keep him for the next 2. Surely Raya is also going to be a keep despite difficult fixtures in the next 2. The only real goalkeepers that I think are worth selling are Trafford, Ederson, maybe Areola. Basically, goalkeepers who are not starting for their respective teams. That is really the only reason to sell a goalkeeper at this point, I think. If you are looking to buy a new goalkeeper, Raya for the long term looks really nice. I do think Petrovic is worth a shout as well. I think Bournemouth have been pretty strong defensively so far. Would not be looking to go for Pope this week. Bournemouth away, Arsenal at home. Not the best pairing of fixtures to jump in on him for. And Henderson, I think there is such better value in the defence than in goal. So if you're looking for Crystal Palace defensive coverage, I'll be looking at the defenders and not the goalkeepers. And those are all of the players I'm going to talk about today in the Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid video. If there's any players I missed out, let me know in the comment section, and I will give that player a rating. Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid. Just let me know which player you want to talk about next. But thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you do drop a like. Do subscribe if you're new around here. I'll be back tomorrow for another video, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye bye.